welcome back to the final episode of Day 5 of What's Hot in Tucson 2021, the live broadcast. For this segment, we are headed way back out to England, and we're going to connect with Deanna Bruce and Philip Taylor from Crystal Classics UK. Hello, Deanna. How are you? Hello, Phil.
Hi.
Hello. We are very well. We are not drowning, although it tries its hardest out there to pour us, shut us off from the outside world. It has not let off all day. Typical English weather.
Yeah. Mid-winter.
Oh boy. I know the weather is affecting your internet connection, so we're going to just kind of turn it over to you and let you show us the incredible minerals that you have in the case behind you there.
Thank you.
That sounds great. Well, tonight we are actually having a showcase filled with minerals from Germany. We are decorated it across the board, so we have minerals from famous mining areas like Saxony and San Andreasberg in the Harz Mountains. So we are really very much in full flow here. And why don't we just start right at the top shelf with some lovely specimens. And the first one that's probably is catching everybody's eye is this wonderful yellow fluoride, which I'm straight away taking out. So fluoride, really interesting. I mean, the color is just absolutely mesmerizing. Such a deep color of honey, which actually also then refers to the name Honigspat, honey spar, when you are looking at the color for this fluoride, which is really, really intense. Now, the locality on this one is Frohnau, so it's actually not a historic find. It is more a recent find, those Frohnau fluorides in Saxony. And that is really always a good thing to see, that an area that has such a long history and tradition in mining has still the potential to produce new specimens. And here we have one nice cabinet size, really striking color of fluoride from this Frohnau fluoride here that you see. And on the top shelf, I actually put all fluorides. And we have various localities. So you have some really nice specimens from Saxony Erzgebirge here, fluoride with calcite. Then you have Welsendorf, obviously, that everybody will know. The locality here, probably more uncommon color, a little bit more of a lime green fluoride that you see here, very nice stepped crystals. That is also from Welsendorf, and that's in Bavaria in Germany. So really nice to see just the color variations on the fluorides that we have here decorated on the top shelf. Now in between we have a Clara mine specimen, and here a really nice, I need to actually look at the label because it's a more unusual location. It is from Hasselbach Valley in the Black Forest. So you have fluorides found all over Germany, and I won't go into too much depth with the fluorides because I'm sure the silver minerals are far more interesting for our viewers and some of the other localities. But it's just nice to see a nice bit of color for an opening. Mm-hmm. And as we go on our lower shelf, we are straight into a very famous mining area, which is the Harz. So here you have a classic calcite, which I possibly need to put forward, a classic calcite with really platy crystals from San Andreasberg. And calcites have been really a wonderful thing in Germany, have they, in this area, Phil? What do you think?
Oh, yeah, without a doubt, Manny. I think most of the minerals are, just looking at this cabinet, it's really quite spectacular, really. And I think for someone who perhaps doesn't specialise in German minerals, it's awfully easy to think of a lot of them as sort of greyish sulphur salts, but this proves the case wrong, that there's a huge, a range in aesthetics, really. It's absolutely fantastic.
And if you wouldn't mind showing the other calcite, Phil, right at the lower shelf, which is a rather nice single isolated crystal.
Yeah, rather. Oops.
Don't worry about the label.
There we are. Let's look at that. Is absolutely amazing. And I'll tell you what, too, although unfortunately it's gone. I was going to get the UV torch Is it around?
No, I don't think it is working. So we abandoned that thought.
Okay. This fluoresces a brilliant pink. It's quite spectacular. But you can see what a lovely crystal that is.
And staying actually in the mining area of San Andreasberg, everyone is familiar with the pink apopholites from San Andreasberg in the Harz Mountains, in the Harz areas. So here you have those lovely pinkish, almost here gemmy apophyllite crystals. So that is probably a very well-known species for the area to be found, which also dates back a long time in its history of mining. And what you have to imagine when, let's go in a district that is probably also well known for everyone, Friedrichshagen mine, Bad Ems, with Paramorphites. Now everybody is familiar with those really nice brownish Paramorphites, sort of those nice little, how would you say, those crystals are more like barrel shaped.
They are, yeah, totally flat terminations on them and quite complex too.
And in the same area, sort of in Bad Ems, different mine, you also find those greenish Paramorphites. And here it looks like it's partly pseudomorphed, because one thing you also find actually then is lovely galena pseudomorphs after Paramorphite, also known as Blaublei-Erz, so blue lead ore. And here is one of them. So you can see quite significantly how that changed. And when you look at the core of the specimen, that's still Paramorphite.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah.
So, and when we talk about Paramorphites and also those galena pseudomorphs, we also need to mention, although the ones from Bad Ems are probably the better known specimens internationally, we should not forget actually the type locality. And the type locality for Paramorphite and for the pseudomorphs, galena after Paramorphite, is not Bad Ems, or is not in Bad Ems. It is actually in Topaz in Saxony. So Paramorphite was first discovered in Topaz in Saxony, and so are the galena pseudomorphs after Paramorphite, although specimens are minute, so we are talking about millimeter-sized crystals, so they're not very showy. So hence, in the international mineral scene, the specimens from Bad Ems and the pseudomorphs from the galena after Paramorphite from Kautenbach are just more well known. But it's always interesting to see where specimens came from. And Saxony is just a mining area that has such a long-standing tradition, going back to the 15th century. We're talking when silver mining really started, and it really got the area to much wealth. And what one has to imagine is that some of the areas, when you look at some of the shafts where specimens have been found, whether that is the native bismuths or we have lovely silver minerals. You know, if we show you one from Pöhler, Tellerhäuser, so now that was, again, the silver mines were very rich and very famous. Now in Pöhler, for example, this silver would have been found. It's nice and black, and you only get those dendritic silvers exposed when you're etching them out of the pitch blende. And that was what they actually were looking for. Pitch blende, uranium mines, that was the main aim to mine then in the more modern mining history. Before, it was obviously all concentrated on silver, but they figured out that, well, it is much more lucrative. And certainly once this Soviet Union was involved, that it is more lucrative to mine the uranium deposits there rather than actually for the silver ores. And some of the mines in Saxony is quite interesting to see when you look at mining in Saxony itself. They have been very, very deep mines. So we are talking about mines, especially in Schliemann, that would go down to a minus 1800 level. So that is 1,800 meters into the ground, mining and actually retrieving. And mineral, actually, temperatures of minerals at that depth would have been roughly 60 degrees.
Wow.
So that is the temperature down there.
That
So
is
you can
hot.
just imagine what the working conditions this must have been.
Wow. Yeah.
Other lovely specimens that we really need to point out are for sure famous Erythrite specimens from Schneeberg. So those nice little reddish sprays of erythrite crystals here. That is very much something that needs to be mentioned. But of course, when we're talking about minerals from Saxony, and everybody will know polar barytes, there is nothing to miss when you look at the color. This is just a nice single crystal.
And I mean, the luster on that is just incredible,
Exactly,
isn't it?
yes. And not many have survived. I mean, we've mentioned this in one of our previous episodes, that a lot of times it was about the ore or it was about uranium, and it was not about the mineral specimens. Now, here's the funny thing. So this is a topaz from Schneckenstein. So it's basically snail stone. It used to be shaped like a snail, like a hump of a snail.
Oh.
So Schneckenstein. And this topaz, the mountain where it comes from, is basically just a cap of actually the mineralization. So it's like a pushed out cap. And the topaz, the deeper you go, the more concentrated the topaz actually becomes. So up top, you only have the quartzes and the calcites. But topaz was very well known for that location. And over time, when this locality was then mined and enthusiasts and hobby collectors would actually collect the topaz specimens, it is now only a third of the original size. So if you go back into books of mineralogy, you would find the original drawing of the actual Schneckenstein cliff.
Yes.
And what's left today is a mere fraction of the actual mountain where you could find a topaz, and now it's forbidden to collect there. You could still find topaz there, so you can go there, but unfortunately you're not allowed these days.
I remember there was once a good mineralogical record article on that. Yeah.
Another really fantastic specimen I would like to show is from the San Andreasberg area, is this pure argyrite. So we have a pure argyrite. So these are those lovely crystals here. Now they look more silvery, but if you shine a really strong light through them, they are still red. But because the silver oxidizes, they are getting this patina on top. So they are not really red anymore. You have the native arsenic balls. They have just ruptured. So here you see a complete one, and you have the pure argyrite crystals right on top. But they are just open, so their sprays burst open, and inside you have the pure argyrite. And then somewhere along the lines you have argentopyrites, which I'm not sure that it would make much sense to point them out. The viewers will not see those.
Magnifying glass job. That.
Yes.
But that is a gorgeous specimen. And you know, for all its the native arsenic is fabulous on that. It really is. I think just going mentioning too about, you know, we're looking at a lot of these specimens, German is the type locality for, and I think it's particularly interesting when you showed the Paramorphite. We're used to type localities being for more rare and modern, you might say, minerals, but to actually see a type locality for something we think we've known about forever, like Paramorphite, I think it's fascinating. Really,
it is indeed.
You know where it's first seen.
One classic here, a manganite from Eelfeld, Nordhausen. So Harz Mountain again. So this is, again, one of those classics that is well known in the mineral world, those really blackish crystals and sprays. And I mean, you have here a smaller specimen, but much larger crystals. So you can just imagine what they have been found when you have a hand-sized specimen and then crystals that size or larger. I mean, that is always the thing. Historically, there have been reports of much larger crystals, and that is also for prustites. When you look at red prustites from Niederschlimmer, I mean, we only see a snippet in time, and specimens that are probably, they are good in our sense of understanding, but historically there should have been, or there is always mention of much larger crystals and much richer specimens, which is interesting.
And I mean, there is no doubt about it, and any viewer watching would agree that manganite, it is a European classic without a doubt. And I think it's one of these, and it's typical of a lot of these classic deposits. We tend to think that they must have just produced so much of it over such a long time. And I think in the case of these fabulous crystals, they were only extracted over a period of about 2 years. I just forget when, I think it was around about 1886 or something like that. But you think just 2 years, well, we almost imagine they were getting them out for 100 years. It was just one very rich pocket in this manganese deposit.
And I think we have this also in today's mineral exploration scene. I mean, sometimes you think it will go on forever and the market will be full because they just come new out and you see a new find everywhere. And then in a couple of years, that new find has disappeared and you cannot get another specimen. So I think it sometimes also shows just that although you might see 1 year plentiful of a mineral specimen around, you need to really take the opportunity when you can, because in a couple of years' time, they are all disappeared. And it seems to be always the way that finds that have been reported and specimens sometimes that even have been pictured or drawn or described, and it just disappeared. Nobody knows. They disappeared in private collections. And unfortunately, there's still a very much so a point, at least for a lot of European collectors, they would like to keep it private. They are very private collectors and would like to keep their treasures to themselves.
Yeah. And I mean, it's true when these, modern day classics come out, they often can be underpriced, and it's very easy to take the attitude that big, low value means not very good.
Yeah.
And then you change your opinion in years to come when they rocket in price. So,
what else would we like to look at? I mean, we still time, Brian?
Yeah, we still have a little bit of extra time, so...
well, why don't we look at another classic, a Pyrargyrite from Freiberg. So, nice specimen, classic locality, Freiberg. I mean, it has a long-standing tradition as well with the mining, has a good mining academy. They have this lovely, lovely museum now, Schloss Freudenstein, which I think is exquisitely done. And so here you have a classic from a Freiberg location and the Freiberg locality. Just look at those crystals. I mean, this is really, really something spectacular. I mean, just the size.
Oh, it is. It's fantastic. Sorry, I was going to say direct Diana next to one of my favourites, which is the Fluorapatite, which is another classic from.
But Lauren might have spotted something that
she seen, Lauren?
Oh, I was gonna make a comment about Freiberg and the fact that it's such an old locality, and it's been in production since Roman times, and it's
Romans never made it there.
Oh, the Romans never made it there, but those times, and you have situations where Red and Metallica comes from being inspired by the miners there, and it's one of the reasons why you find, and Freiberg, the academy there is one of the reasons why you find German mining engineers all over the world. And
yes, very much so.
Funnily enough, Diana was only telling me earlier today about in Durham Metallica that a Grickler named Fluoride.
He, in his work, De Bergwerken in 1530, he actually described fluoride, and which comes from fluere. So fluoride, actually, the name is adapted much later due to its fluorescence. But fluorspar itself, or the fluorspar, is named in 1530, and it also already in 1556 they discovered that it is usable as a flux in lowering the melting temperatures for metals. So it has early on. And again, the type locality is, I think, is Saxony or Falkland. Falkland could be also Thuringia, so I'm not 100% sure on this, don't hold me to it.
And what I thought was interesting, you were telling me about the river that it was found in,
Well, I think Fluss was from flowing, sort of, that it really meant flowing, which possibly is more due to the fact either to river location, but I think more to the fluere as in flux.
Okay. Right, okay,
You've got some really great ones in there. I mean, Hilton is such a fantastic yellow. It's hard to get over. But yeah, you also had that Clara piece, which was beautiful. Are there any other ones hiding in there?
Well, there are loads hiding in there, surely. Well, why don't we have a look at a classic then from Byhill for mine? They are just so classic. It is blue. So, and there is again something really interesting. So fluoride is a little bit prone to light sensitive. So a lot of those blue fluorides that have been found in Saxony, they actually have lost their color because they were exposed to daylight and they're just becoming gray. So this one is not the biggest crystals, but it still has a nice saturated blue color, which I think is really always interesting.
Yes,
so,
and it's an unusual blue too for a fluorite, really. It's really beautiful.
Yes.
They look beautifully zoned too.
Yeah, so they have much deeper cores. So, so the outside of the crystals are sort of almost colorless, which is also really interesting. And you have little chalcopyrite here, crystals dotted around, but it's difficult to capture. But the cores are really intense and dark blue.
Great.
And another interesting specimen, I think, also when we come about fluorides and quartz, and is this one. It's a quartz with Eisenheizel, so hematites included quartz, really, on a bed of really dark fluoride, which you can't see really, but it's a dark purple fluoride, and then you have those really amazing little quartzes dotted on top.
Yeah,
Great contrast.
It's a lovely mineral. I really love it.
Yeah.
So what's the story with that silver right next to it?
The story with the silver, it's just a really cute small cabinet, native silver, and you can see the wires nicely curling up, and you have the quartz sitting right on top and in the beds. So it's just unusual. So, and you see those nice patina. So I always think it looks far more authentic. So it has naturally, silver will oxidize. So they form this really nice dull patina. I prefer it. It has a little bit more of a historic look to it rather than being over-cleaned and very bright. But that's a personal preference.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for gray minerals anyway. So hence, it's a personal preference.
Yeah, it's true though. It is. It just, you can say the same for the kiwi or copper. You don't want the wish like copper pipes. So.
No, you won't. So, but very filigrane, delicate array of small wires, which is beautiful.
And where's it from?
That's a Freiberg specimen. Freiberg in the Erzgebirge, Saxony.
Mm-hmm.
I love the little crystals, you know, and that the silvers appear to have like captured. It gives it sort of this dancing feel to it.
Yes, very much so.
And it sits up by itself too. Nice.
Yeah. Beautiful. Now, Phil, you wanted to show something colorful.
I'm a sucker for fluorapatites. I don't care where it's from. It just does it for me. I love it. So I think we have three, I think, in this German cabinet, but this is an exceptionally, it's a beautiful color, as you can see, and lovely.
Very distinct color always, yeah.
Yeah.
You can
and
see
looks
those
like
little wheels.
Looks like it's got some labels that go with it too.
Yes, indeed. Well spotted, Lauren. So what we try to, as we usually try to keep the history. So here you have a old collection label. So it used to be in a collection from a Sammlung Weinberger. Now, I don't know the history of that collection, but it comes from Julius Böhm, which is in Vienna. So that was like a mineral contour equivalent to Kranz, I believe. So a very famous mineral dealer, so warehouse, tradesman. So it has had obviously some mileage. And then we have a old par label. So a mineralogist in Austria had it in his collection. So we keep that history always together. So, and that is obviously where we established or got it from the par collection. And there's no more detail. Oh, here, no, he did not make any more notes when he acquired it. Sometimes collectors will refer to when it was taken over into their collection, which gives a nice bit of history, how it moved on and where it moved on from.
That might be on an index card, maybe. So.
Possibly.
Yeah.
That's a great example of an older piece.
So we had John Rackovan earlier talking about apatite, since the apatite supergroup will be the theme for the Tucson show again properly in 2022. So show us the other two apatites that you've got there, just to keep John happy.
So, well, definitely one of my favorites is this Fluorapatite with Fluoride and Quartz from Erythrite. So you have here the Fluorapatite, which actually would under UV come out really nice in a sort of yellowish sort of, but we can't show that. Here you have the fluorides and then nestled in with the quartz. So that is a rather nice combination of a specimen.
Is that Fluorapatite zoned?
It has like a dark core in it, yes.
Oh, that's really cute.
But whether that is actually something that's intergrown, that would need to be determined. So I'm not quite sure if it's actually zoning or just an intergrown crystal.
I think it's zoning, definitely, because I'm very used to them from Cornwall, and you get some fabulous zoned apatites in Cornwall.
And our third apatite, I have no idea where Phil spotted it. Oh, we have it here, right there. So again, classic locality as well, Erythrite, and you can just see how different. So here, is that possible? So here you see those little wheels, and here you see the apatites in there as well. Is that visible? So they are overgrown really with quartz.
Yeah.
So all these are fluorapatites, but they're having this coating of quartz, and then you have it also on the fluorides.
What's the yellow that's on there?
The yellow, I have no idea. What does it look like to you, Phil?
Sure.
We haven't even named it on our label. We deemed it not worthy to be named. So there we go. One to determine. Yes. Well, another classic in the meantime, Rhodochrosite. So Germany also does do colorful minerals. Rhodochrosite, famous wolf mine location in Herdorf, Siegerland. So those are probably also well known for rhodochrosites from Germany.
I love the contrast with the matrix there. It just makes it pop.
Yes. And they always have this really nice sort of strawberry, raspberry red.
And that matte frosted finish on the outside there.
Yes, yeah. But they always look very distinct. So they're never like the Schwanning ones that you would imagine that are really sort of those dog tooth that are almost gemmy. So they're always having this slight palish look.
I think it's siderite.
Siderite, there we go.
Ah, okay. Yeah, hard to see over the phone, unfortunately, but cute association. Yeah. I like how they kind of pop up. Really cool. Well, it looks like we've got time for one last one before we have to say goodbye for today. But you got one last one. Yeah.
We looked at rhodochrosite. So I need to pick one from Saxony. I'm so sorry, I'm biased, but I have to pick just a mimetite from Johann Georgenstadt. So I cannot help it. So there you go, sweet little crystals dotted around on this specimen. And I just love those. I could have one any day of the week. I find them really, really, really nice. And now there is a whole array. So this is worth inquiring about. So I'm not going down the tracks of histories, but I have at least sort of 10 labels to go with the specimen. So it's, yes.
It's been much loved.
It obviously has been, well, or not, because it has been passed down so many times. I'm not sure what it indicates,
Well, it depends on how old the oldest label is.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I have no idea, and I can't really look at it that quickly. But we're having one from 1960s, which is not that old. lots of different collectors. Oh, even a Marshall, J.H. Marshall from Massachusetts label.
John Marshall, yeah.
So we have labels. Then we have a Conklin label from New York. So it has been around the houses a bit.
Yeah.
Far away from Saxony.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Deanna, Phil, thank you so much for sharing all your great treasures from your Germany collection there. Really appreciate that. That's going to do it for us today. I want to thank all of our viewers out there for tuning in to What's Hot in Tucson 2021, the live broadcast version. Come on back tomorrow. We're going to have a whole new lineup of people starting 10 a.m. Tucson time and continuing to about 12:30. So from all of us here at BlueCap Productions, thank you. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.